Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 25, overall 465 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles, as well as Cadillac products. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you. And you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. I've been a proud customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph since 2000, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership has been in Guelph since 1969. Family operated and owned, and great customer service, great GM products as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also sponsored by Wellington Brewery at 950 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall, founded in 1985. Check out their website, wellingtonbrewery.ca. Try a welly on, and please remember to drink responsibly. I hope everyone's doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Saturday, December 7th, 2024. We're just about 3 weeks away from the Christmas holiday, and I'm excited to have my guest on tonight. This is her first appearance on our show, and her name is Teri Granahan. I hope I got the last name right. She's a stand-up comedian and started her comedy career back in the early 2000s while living in New York, and she's based out of Pennsylvania, and we're going to bring her on, and I'm excited to have Teri Granahan on our show. Good afternoon, Teri. How are you?
Doing very well. How about yourself, Chris?
Not so bad. How is the weather in your part of the world?
Today it's not as cold as it's been, but we are definitely in winter. So I don't hate winter, but I don't love it. So
I enjoy it because here in Ontario we get our 4 seasons and our summers get hot and humid. But last year we didn't even have a winter. We had no snow. It was mild, and we've had more snow so far than we did all of last year. So for me, for Christmas, I kind of like the snow and the cold for Christmas.
You do? Well, if I get more, I'll send it your way.
Absolutely. The only thing I don't like is ice. I don't mind ice in my drinks, but driving on ice, I don't like, especially the black ice at night.
Yeah, that's scary.
So
I have an inappropriate joke about that. I won't do.
Okay.
You'd have to come to a live show to see that inappropriate joke.
And by the way, how was your U.S. Thanksgiving? Because ours in Canada is about a month before yours in the States.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So now, do you celebrate it the same way we do? Like with the same concept of Thanksgiving?
Yes. Yep. Except we're a little bit earlier than yours. Usually the first or the second Monday of October is our Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yes.
That's so much more reasonable, I would think, weather-wise. But I don't know up there. Down here it would be.
The next time I have you on my show again in the future, I'm going to give you a little Canadian quiz test.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of Canada, have you done any performances in Canada so far in your comedy career?
No, but hand to God, I did a show a mile from Canada. I want to say it was like, is it St. George? It was one of the lakes, it was in New York, so it was very close. And I did a joke about my hometown, and my hometown happens to be famous for this strip club And it is ironically famous because I'm literally a mile from Canada. I start talking about my hometown and somebody shouts out the name of they don't sponsor me. So I'm not going to say their name, but they should sponsor me. That's as close as I got, was a mile from Canada. And I don't have a passport, but that is in process.
I was gonna say if you were in New York City, I'm gonna assume it would be the province of Quebec, maybe.
I couldn't even tell you. I just knew that they said, the people that live there, it's a mile from Canada, or, just over the bridge or whatever it was. So I'm like, really? So for someone to know about my hometown in the Poconos of Pennsylvania was shocking.
And where I'm located, I'm an hour from Toronto, 2 hours from Buffalo, and about 3.5, 4 hours from Detroit. So I'm in a really good location towards like major cities
Wow.
here and then to the States. But yeah, Pennsylvania, I really like the state of Pennsylvania. Now I gotta ask you this. I haven't been to Pennsylvania in a couple of years. Do you still have no sales tax on clothing there?
That's a good question. You would think that I would notice, given, I'm not one of the 1%. I'm gonna say no, but if this is a quiz, I don't want to bet any money on that, Chris.
Yeah. The only thing right now about going to the States is our dollar is bad. It's good for Americans coming over across the border, but
Oh,
for
okay.
us, for me to get 100 American, it costs almost 200 Canadian. So our dollar is not so well. It's only like 69.70 US.
Oh, wow. Oh,
So
that's a
hopefully,
bummer.
yeah, so that's the only thing. But I always go over to your country for shopping, and also I do a lot of media work over in the States too. So I really enjoy coming over and stuff like that. I have a lot of friends in the Buffalo area.
Didn't they just get dumped on weather-wise?
Yes, but here's the strange part. Buffalo,
Okay.
New York does get snow, but in this case, it was in Orchard Park. They have a whole bunch of little towns or
Uh-huh.
suburbs around Buffalo, and they always get hit. They call them the South Towns. And then the North Town is like Niagara Falls, New York, close to the
Okay.
Canadian border. They don't get much, but it's where the Buffalo Bills play in Orchard Park, where they get 2, 3, 4 feet of snow.
No way.
Weather
Wow.
is so funny nowadays. Even
Yeah.
where I live, sometimes parts of towns get stuff and we don't get anything. It's just nowadays weather is just funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
hope it's not looking for
oh,
comedy work. There's enough.
I was going to
Boom,
ask you
boom.
about.
All right. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Before we get to some questions, would you like to talk to us about the course you're teaching? It's called what? Learn stand-up comedy.
Yes. So there is going to be a live one that we're going to do in the fall. I'm going to do it with a friend of mine, Paul Spratt. But I have an online course. I didn't set up a date yet because life has just been weird. But there is, I almost want to set it up so that it can be kind of learn at your own pace, and then you have access to me. But the biggest secret I would have to say that I figured out is the emotion. So when funny things happen in life and then you go to tell someone about it, 9 times out of 10, you're wrapping up the story with like, okay, well, you had to be there. So what I am able to do is to teach you to take that moment from real life and still translate the same level of emotion and hilarity that so you don't have to end your statement with, well, you had to be there, because that would not be a good comedy career.
What's the best way of somebody for people that are watching this live stream or on audio and they're interested in this class? What's the best way for them to contact you, Teri?
Email. So it's Teri Granahan, and that's Teri. So one of each of those letters. Granahan, Granahan, truthfully@gmail.com. Let me know your interest. I have a PDF file or a PowerPoint, whatever your preference is, that I can send you, and we can do it one-on-one. You can get a group of your friends that you think are funny. And yeah, I can at least get you confident enough to bring something to stage.
And will this be live stream? Will this be like live stream, like on Zoom as well?
I mean, the sky's the limit these days. It can really be adaptable. What I've done in the past has just been 4 classes and then usually a graduating show. So it will be 4 classes where we're doing it on Zoom. I give you a little homework. You go out and you do an open mic, tape that, send that to me. So it's sort of like at your convenience, where we don't have to, find a place where we have to meet. And so it's a little bit further reaching when I do it that way. So you can be in, the suburbs of Philly, you can be, on the West Coast. And I'm still able to impart, what it is that I've learned from comedy to get you up on the stage. And did I say it was at Gmail? Did I say my email?
Yes.
Gmail?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have to
I
check
also
my
have an AOL, but we
Okay.
don't.
That's
say that.
wow, I feel old. That's dating me back until like 20, 25 years ago. I remember AOL Messenger too. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, that was, yes. Yeah. My
Absolutely.
MySpace is still current. So no, I don't know if it is.
Wow. This technology is amazing. I know we all hear the negative aspects of it, but this technology, if you use it the right way, can be a good tool. And it really does shrink the world down, because I've even had guests on from 7 countries and even Australia through this technology.
Wow. That's pretty neat. Yeah, and I would have to say this is the first time I've ever done any live, anything outside of, a television, like actual television broadcast. So it's neat knowing, and they were all regional for the most part. So it's neat knowing that this could be reaching people on the other side of the planet. So
It is. I have listeners in 40 countries across the world. So this technology is just amazing if you use it the right way. And I'm very grateful about it, because I found my new career, and this technology has really been a big help. I wanted to ask you this, Terry. So those people watching and myself, sometimes people around their family and friends can be funny, but how do you go from being funny around family and friends or coworkers to on stage in front of a live audience?
It's a certain level of sickness. So there is there's I at least from the comedians that I've met over my lifetime, there is some sort of impulse inside of you that wants to be up in front of a crowd of people. It's not generally something people who have stage fright sign up for. So that indicates to me there's a certain level of attention, and I don't say attention in a bad way, but there's something that you're seeking. And I used to think that you couldn't teach just anyone to be funny, but I do think there's always something funny in life. So it's really just teaching people how to put the vision on to be able to document, like, oh, hey, this was funny. Uncle Charlie said this, and and the scenario was this. So that way you kind of have something that's relatable to people, and really that's all it has to be, is relatable to people. I mean, there's other forms of comedy. You could do shock comedy, which is not relatable, but it's to shock the audience. That's not my preference. but so it's really, life is funny. So it's really just having the vision to see it, and then the discipline to write it down. I handwrite it. Kids, put it in their phone, but whatever method you do, just write down that memory and remember the emotion that you had. Like, what was the emotion of the story, the context of the story, and then take that emotion and deliver that emotion when you're retelling it on stage.
Teri, okay. Teri, for those people that are watching this live stream or on audio platforms and they're interested in getting into the comedy industry, what's the best advice you could give to them?
Well, when I first started, you had to get yourself to a big city. I mean, if you were genuinely seeking a life doing this or a career doing this, you had to get to a big city. Nowadays, you don't have to go to a big city. So there's much more, like what you were saying about social media and technology's capabilities today. You just have to have followers, which is something that I'm on the opposite spectrum. I have a lifetime of material, did not develop social media because it's just not in my DNA to do selfies and all that stuff. So it isn't natural for me. So I've had to learn how to navigate social media. But if you have followers, they will book you. You almost don't even have to be funny, apparently. So it is a different world. It's a different landscape. So if you're wanting to get started in comedy, I would go to an open mic, a live one, and I would start to network with the other comedians who are doing it. And I'm finding that your social media presence is kind of everything. But that's not something that you have to teach younger people that are looking to get into comedy. If somebody my age was looking to get into comedy, I would be like, go sit down. So no, that's not nice.
Teri,
If you're savvy at social media, you can have anything.
Teri, in your time doing comedy since you started out in the early 2000s to now, how many, I'm going to reword this. Do you find there are more female comedians now than when you first started out in the year 2000?
So there was I took a hiatus. 2016, I quit. I was done. I broke up with comedy. But the sickness never really leaves you. You're always an addict. So I want to say it was really within the last year or two that I kind of got back into comedy. The landscape is totally different. There seems to be a little bit more of an even playing ground. Like it's forgive me, it's a boys club, but it was much more so a boys club when I first started than what it appears to be now. In fact, in speaking to some of the comics that are new to me, I don't know how new they are to the scene. They say things like, oh, well, women get, extra spots or whatever, just because they're females. Or so it seems like the shoe's on the other foot now, and they're complaining that women get, too much work. Now, for me, in my experience, I was putting together a tour, a blonde, brunette, and redhead comedy tour, and where I was looking for female comedians to fulfill those spots. And there's not a lot. There's really not a lot. And I shouldn't say there's not a lot. There's not female comedians that are doing things that are clean, on the cleaner side. And that's my preference. Not that I'm clean, like I curse, but I don't really talk about body parts, or I don't know. That's just low hanging fruit to me. But so are there more female comedians? I don't know, because I was having trouble finding them. Ones that weren't, that were working a little cleaner. So I'm not sure.
Teri, I wanted to ask you this. I've had comedians on from Canada and the States, and I've had some of them in different areas where they go to these clubs and they have to sign an agreement saying they can't talk about this and that. Have you had that in your comedy career where you've had to sign an agreement with a club about what your humor is going to be like?
No. Now, I have not been in. There's one club that I play now prior to this. In I would say from like 2007 to 2016, I was more in the East Coast comedy circuit, but there was nothing I ever had to sign. Now I've not really been in the circuit. I do things locally, maybe 2 hours away is kind of the limit. And I haven't had to yet, but I could see where that would be a situation. I could absolutely see people are very sensitive, and I could say that because I am. But yeah, so when you're running a business, you kind of don't want to have people who are offensive.
And that also leads to this. We're in a politically correct world nowadays. How much has that changed the comedy industry? And I wanted to ask you this too. I know during the pandemic, I watched some comedy shows from Flappers in Burbank on Zoom, and it was great. But I wanted to get your thoughts on if you've ever performed live stream comedy and just the political correctness now in our society around the world.
So, no, I've never done the live stream comedy. This is as live stream as I've ever been. And the political, when COVID was happening, it seemed like to me, I was really grateful that I dipped out before COVID even hit. I had the fortune of having a regular job. It would appear to me like it was nothing but landmines to try and navigate comedy through people's sensitivities. And it seemed like there was a lot of, don't say this, don't say that. You can't call me this. You can't use that term. You can, so I was grateful to be dodging that bullet. It seems in the last 2 years since I've been back in, there's a little more wiggle room. People can laugh a little bit more at themselves again, which is really nice. Even myself, it was just sort of a simple awareness, but there was a guy that would come into the bank and he would always call me sweetheart, and he was younger than me. And he would call everybody sweetheart. It wasn't just me. It was just sweetheart, sweetheart, sweetheart. And initially I was bristling at that until I sort of thought about it and was like, why are you upset that someone's coming in and saying, oh, what's up, sweetheart? He could be coming in and saying something much worse. You know what I mean? So it was just in my own life, I kind of shook my head like, oh, wait a minute, let me get a grip here. Like, am I really offended because he's coming in and calling me sweetheart? Like, whatever, So I think people are kind of coming to that on their own. Like, not saying that you shouldn't be offended, but just sort of recalibrating what is offensive. I hope.
Teri, also, when you do your live shows, do you do voice impressions as well?
I have never done voice impressions. There are ones that I work on, like secretly at home. And they're humorous to me, but they've never made it to the stage. So I had a modicum of success when I was the early testament, when I was in that part of my comedy career. But I was really crafting the art of comedy, like how you make a joke, how you put a set together, how you work within the different crowds, within the different arenas, like the not arena, but venues. But it was always a set. I was working on a set, and you can add to the set, but I was so married to the set that I kind of lost my voice up there. So being back now, I have a lot of accents that I know how to do. It's not, I never practiced them. It was just, I'm just a weirdo. And these are the things that I've never brought to stage, that all of a sudden this time out, like accents are coming out, that I have intentions of doing impressions. I haven't done them yet, but I'm also starting to work more in the medium of video online, so that maybe that's where these things will come out now. So it's kind of a neat place to be, but I have not done that live. But I can say who I am now on stage is 100% authentically me. And I try really not to have a set. I've been trying to just go up, and this is what's happened over the last week. These are some of the tried and tested material, but so that I'm always present, because I find that that's more successful for me.
Be yourself. And also I wanted to bring this up. How important is ad-libbing too as a comedian?
How important is what?
Ad-libbing? Thinking on your feet?
So initially, like, again, when the first part of my comedy career, I could ad lib, but only if I was really comfortable with the memorized set. So if I was doing something new and it was kind of new material, I was not present on stage. So being able to like kind of ad lib was non-existent. I mean, I could do it, but not on any of the professional shows. Like, I really kind of stuck to my script. Now I get overwhelmed by the amount of material that I have to like just sort of pick a few things, kind of have a guideline, but I do let the magic of the moment and the people sort of dictate what I do up there more than I've ever done ever before. And it's really learning a new muscle, or strengthening a new muscle to be able to really trust myself in that moment. And now I like look at a set list, whereas before it was all memorized and I didn't look at a set list. Now I'm just, listen, I'm just up here being funny, and generally that works. So for me now, ad-libbing is where I live, and the material sort of pops in, if that makes sense.
How long does it take for you when you're doing a live performance to engage audience's mood? And do you prefer to start a show, be the middle act, or be the closing act?
It used to aggravate me to have to host a show, because you're really the sacrificial lamb. They just, if you're funny enough, that's all they really need you to be. Try not to bomb is really the goal of an MC. So I used to hate the MC spot, but the MC spot is what will fortify you in any situation. you don't test yourself if you are a feature or a headliner. You have the time to unfurl. When you have 15 minutes or 10 minutes, you have to get to the funny. So you really craft a good set. When you're in the middle, then you can, kind of be a little more fluid and be in the moment. I enjoy all of it now. And there was a time when, I didn't want to host, but now I don't mind hosting. I love a feature spot, probably more than I like headlining, because I like to go home early because I'm old. So, but I definitely would prefer to unfurl in one of the longer spots. But you have to start somewhere, and if you can't MC, then you really don't deserve the other spots, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. So I like them all. I'm available for all of them, but I charge more now for the MC spot because I hate it. So,
But one thing too, Teri, comedy, radio, media industry, you might not be the best at doing everything, like you said with MCing. I'm not. There's certain things about the media industry, like digital writing. I do digital writing stories for these teams I do work for, our coverage, but that's not my favorite thing. But I wanted to ask you this: how important is it to wear many hats in the comedy industry? And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the best at everything, but I just think that makes it you more versatile if you can wear more hats in any career you're in.
100%. The more so, when the other big lesson that I learned in that time, in the time off, and in what I'm in my reapproaching it, I was so fixated on the identity of being a comedian that I forgot that my nature is just a funny nature. So now that I'm back into it with the idea that my nature is funny, is humorous. My filter on life is a humorous one. And maybe it's because I'm Irish, but it is how I navigate those tough times. Like, something funny always comes to my head. So again, now with social media, it was actually one of the younger comedians that I was commiserating with. And he said, well, maybe when you started, you had to be in New York, but nowadays you don't. And I was like, I really never thought of that. Like, you're so right. Let me just focus on this medium and see what I could do. So yeah, if you pigeonhole yourself, if you're an artist, you're an artist, and you want to be known for something. But if you're still unknown, dabble, see what you're good at. Don't limit yourself, by sticking in one box, because what if you don't even know you're that much better over there? So I'm trying a bunch of new things and they're absurd. They're ridiculous. I'm too old to be doing this stuff. You know what I mean? But it's
You're only 27. You're only 27.
Bless your heart. Check is in the mail. Don't cash it till Friday. But yeah, it is a, the more you can branch out, I just think the more you're going to find out about yourself. And that's really what you're trying to figure out anyway, isn't it? Like, is this who I am? Well, then branch out and figure it out. Don't just stay in one path and keep asking the same question. I don't know.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Teri. How much do you feel you've improved since coming back into the comedy industry? And do you have any rituals or superstitions before a live show that gets you calm or relaxed?
So the difference, I would say, is night and day. between who I was before when I was on stage and who I am now. I was so kind of obnoxious before, in terms of like almost demanding, like comedy owed me something. And I forgot to revere the gift I was given, to be grateful for the gift I was given, rather than being like, well, what do I get for this? What do I get for this? And now I'm approaching it like, here you go. I don't know. God made me kind of weird. Here it is. Ta-da. And that, not kind of wanting anything in return, although, I get paid for it, but I don't fight anymore to get work. It's finding me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not knocking on a lot of doors, and I don't mean, I'm also not seeking fame and fortune from it anymore. I know I've tried a lot of things in life, and I'm above average funny. So I'm just going to see what that yields. And before, I needed it to yield a whole bunch of things. And now I'm just like, hey, this is what God made. So I'm showing up as this. What do you got? What do you got? I don't know if that makes sense, but.
What's the biggest crowd that you performed in front of so far, and maybe the toughest crowd in your career?
Biggest crowd was a theater in Delaware, and I think it was 800 people. And I remember, and I did very well, and that was in the early part of my career. And I remember thinking to myself on stage, like, wow, this must be what Ellen DeGeneres feels like. And I always retained that sensation so that I could call that back before I go on stage, because I was in it. I was just doing really well, and it was just there was just a synergy. It was just like, yes, this must be what it feels like. So I always try to bring that back before I go on stage. And the other ritual I have, so it occurred to me this year, or since being back, never in my life did I ask anyone if I could dance. Like, do you think I could dance? Do you think I'm a good dancer? I've never asked anybody that, because I just know that. Like, I know that about myself. My hair is dark, my eyes are blue, and I could dance. I don't question that. And never in my life have I questioned that. But yet with comedy, I had questions like, am I funny? Do you think I'm funny? Am I funny enough? Should I be doing this? Is this who I am? And it didn't matter what life kept feeding me. Like, it was, when I was in high school, they voted me most funny. And I think it was either class clown or class cut up. And that was the first time that I was like, really? Collectively, everybody thinks I'm funny? I didn't know that. I was just being myself. So, and when I started in New York, I won a contest right out of the door. So it was like, oh, maybe this is who I am. So as an identity, I was thinking, oh, I am this person. I am funny. And now it's like, I don't question it. So there's no room for doubt. Like, doubt doesn't come with me up on stage anymore. So that's like a huge, huge difference. Like, when I am up on stage, I know why I'm up there. There's no question in you put the music on, let me dance. So that transfer of confidence that I had in my body sense before I would dance, I tried to like get into my brain, like, oh, it's the same sense of confidence because I am a funny person. My filter is funny. So removing the doubt changed everything for me. So now I got dark hair, I got blue eyes, I can dance, and I'm funny. And that is changing everything for me. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely, and one thing I've learned about this show too is listening skills. Listening is just as important, if not more important, than talking. And I wanted to ask you this too, for the comedy career especially. It goes for any career, but how important is a strong mindset and also a strong support system? Because in any career, you're going to have your successes, but you're going to have your setbacks, and I call them temporary setbacks. I never use the word failures.
So comedy is unique in that I think if you don't suffer, I don't know that you have the perspective deep enough to be that level funny. Now, that's just me from my perspective. Like it's almost like the more adverse your circumstances, gosh, you should hope you're a comedian, because it's like, oh, wow, what a gold mine. That's the sickness of a comedian is like, oh, look at that, like imperfect situation. It's a gold mine of comedy. But when you're in it, I also know every comedian is a depressed person deep down. And hopefully every one of them is working on themselves, but there is a level of like, oh God, if I fix myself, will I still have funny left? Will there be funny? Because funny is the remedy to the sorrow. So it's important to have, I think if you know why you're there, that's going to get you through those tough times. But that's also the rub, because if you're there for the purposes of identifying as a comedian, like this is my career, this is my purpose, this is my person, you might fall, because that's all ego based and identity based, as opposed to, are you genuinely coming from your heart? Like, are you that sick that you just have to give this away because you don't know anything else in life and you've tried everything, under the sun? So I think it is if you know your intentions, and your intentions are pure, and they're coming from like, look, I'm this level weirdo, like I got to give this to you, then success is yours. If you're trying to find an identification, like I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a comedian, I don't know that. I think you'll be tested at that assertion if it's not genuinely who you are. And do you need a support system? Again, the adversity is a gold mine of material. But yeah, would I have loved if my dad was like, Toots, you could be anything you want? Yeah, that might have had a different result, but maybe not, because maybe I wouldn't have found the funny in it. So those are good questions. I don't know that I have an answer. I just have a perspective.
One thing I've learned too, from doing the media radio industry as well, you got to stay humble and hungry, because if you do have an ego and it gets big, eventually the media, the radio, the TV industry will cut it down to size at some point. So to me, my advice to anybody in any career is to always be humble, hungry, and be willing to overcome setbacks, because that's part of life, and in any career as well.
Yeah. If you're doing anything with any artistic You know, if there's not a machine behind it, it's socially, you have a little bit of an uphill climb regardless of how skilled you are. So remaining humble and connecting with people is definitely important. And I am not a great networker. I'm not a good networker. Not because I don't want to be. I am an introvert, I guess, at heart, which is weird. People find that odd, but I like my conversations one-sided and amplified, my voice. So that's that's
Here's something about me. When I was younger in elementary school, high school, college, I hated public speaking. I avoided it. I would always be the last one up. And now, being 52, I'm very comfortable being in front of a camera and an audience. I've reinvented myself.
that's awesome.
Hey, Terry, I know we're at 45 minutes. Do you have time for a few more minutes? A couple more
Sure.
questions?
Sure.
Okay. And I did want to play one of your videos from your YouTube channel too. It was a little performance, and it was about TikTok and all that too.
Okay.
But I wanted to get this in before we get to the video. When did actually? I think you already answered this, so we'll go to this question. Who were some of your early comedy influences and mentors? And do you remember the first time you performed stand-up comedy in New York?
Yes, I do. So Ellen DeGeneres wrote a book, My Point, and I Have One. And I read her book. It was the first time I lived in New York, and I was living in Soho, and I was in a bookstore, and I just picked up her book and I started reading it, and I was literally in tears laughing so hard, and I could hear her voice on the page. And that just struck me. I was like, wow. Now at this point, this was 96, I think, 1996. I wasn't thinking about going into comedy. I actually thought I was going to be an actress. And fast forward a couple years, and one trip out to Colorado and back, I was in a stand-up New York, and I had Jim Gaffigan, and it was before he was Jim Gaffigan. It was maybe the 6th time I had ever performed stand-up comedy, and he came up to me after, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been doing this?" And I'm like, "I don't know, 5 or 6 times." And he's like, "Wow, really?" He's like, "You didn't once talk about your period." I'm like, "Why would I do that?" And he's like, "Well, just usually new female comedians, blah, blah, blah." Noted. And again, he was the guy who was a paid comedian, but he wasn't the household name Jim Gaffigan at this point. Anyway, he had said, "Listen, don't ever, if this is you just starting out, don't ever quit." Filed that away. So eventually I'm watching his career go on, and I had started to work with other comedians and started to see their different styles. And the mentors that I had were more the comedians that I worked with. And it was the ones whose voice you would never be able to do their material. And I remember thinking, like, that's comedy. Like, if someone can take your material, then you're not digging deep enough, and you're not sharing enough of who you are, because that's sort of common ground. Or but I remember, like, Josh Spear is his name. He's now out on the West Coast. His crowd work was so amazing, I'm sure. And you never got the same 45-minute set from him, because he was so in the moment. And I've seen people do crowd work, but even their crowd work is still set up, and they kind of, it's rehearsed in their own mind, because they've done it enough. Whereas this guy, he was pure magic in talking with people. And then there's another guy, Chris Monty, who is a friend of mine. he always just gave me the feedback that I was seeking within the industry, where some of the powers that weren't quite lending me yet. So he always gave me the feedback that I needed to just keep going, and ignore the obstacles that are being put in front of me, because it's because I'm funny, not because I'm not. So those were my mentors, more so than famous comedians. But Ellen DeGeneres's book, I mean, I always loved her style of comedy, but her book and the fact that I could hear her voice in that book is really what just, I don't know, turned something inside of me. And the first time I ever did comedy, again, I was never looking to be a comedian. I came to New York to be an actress, and I went on a few too many cattle calls and was like, oh God, this is uphill. And somebody said, hey, if you bring people, they'll give you stage time. And I'm like, well, I could do that. So I went to this place called, it was the Surf Reality was the name of it. And it was an underground comedy open mic. And that was the first time I ever performed comedy. And I still have 2 jokes from that set that I pull out periodically. So my first time, there's few things that right out of the gate I was ever good at. There's few things I'm good at, even fewer right out of the gate that I was good at. This seemed to kind of come naturally. So I just sort of thought, oh, maybe this is who I am. And the fast forward, figured out the identification of being a comedian was the wrong path. The identification of being funny, a funny human, is yielding more.
Do you find performing live comedy, the crowds are tougher in New York than they are in the state of Pennsylvania or in the Philadelphia area?
It's been a while since I have performed in the city. The difference when I was, now it could be a different landscape now. It just is different material. I think, oh boy, this is sort of insulting. You could do your smart stuff in the bigger cities, and you have to do more common ground things when you're outside of the cities. It's just a slower pace. There's just different things that people focus on. There's nothing funnier to me that when some of these New York comedians come out to these little podunk towns and do their shows and they're doing subway material. It's like, dude, there's no subways out here. Like, no one's going to laugh at this. This is, so the difference is really just, you have to know where you're going and what are these people? How do they live? What's your common ground with them?
Basically, do your research, do your homework, and cite preparation. Because I know with my show, with my guests, I get guests on from different professions, different cities, and that. I try to do my homework and read up. And I guess with comedy too, wherever you're performing in the States or Canada or internationally, you probably should do your homework and prepare for to do comedy in that city or that country.
Well, and when you do, I see down on the screen you have Dave Russo, and I didn't mention Dave because I'm mad at him right now.
Okay,
but I will mention him and give him his props, because he was technically the first person to give me any opportunity. But I'm mad at him right now. But he shoot, now I forget what was you had something down there about Dave.
how much how much impact did he have on your comedy career? I guess he was one of the first guys to give you your first gig.
Yes, yes, yes. And he taught me a lot of kind of what to expect. He was a little bit of a big brother, even though we're probably the same height. Uh, yeah, until he lost his mind. So, but he's very funny. If you get a chance to see Dave Russo, he would be Josh Spear, Chris Monty, Dave Russo, and Scott Bruce, who's the owner of Wisecrackers, which would be my home club. They would be the people in my real life that had influence on my comedy career.
Also, you said something too about how tall are you?
So there's a lot of talk on TikTok right now about quantum jumping and quantum, timeline jumping. And I don't know if I timeline jumped into a taller self going on in a different reality, but I don't know what happened. My whole adult life, I've measured 5'4.5". You could look at my mom's wall. That's 5'4.5" from forever. And this last year, in these last 2 years, I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, I'm 5'5.5". And the boyfriend measured me 3 times. He's like, yeah, it's 5'5.5". I'm like, what happened? Like, it is mind blowing to me, but it's wonderful. It is an amazing experience as a tall woman now. This life has changed. The doors that are opening. It's amazing. I didn't know life was so good as a tall-legged, woman. So
I'm going the opposite direction.
Well, this is what I expected. I expected to shrink, not grow. I don't know what happened. So quantum jumping is my theory.
So you're getting taller and I'm getting shorter. I'm going to ask you this question, and I wanted to see if you're still okay for time, because I wanted to get this question and then play some of your video as well from your YouTube channel, which your YouTube channel is called Talk with Teri G, correct?
Yes.
And I already subscribed. So good. I wanted to.
You're the 11th.
Well, hey, it takes time to build up your YouTube channel.
It does.
It's a lot of hard work.
I had a YouTube. I was telling you when we were off camera, I had a YouTube channel that was adjacent to my past career. And in my hiatus, there was some email, I guess I didn't open, from YouTube that said, hey, if you don't become active, we're going to ditch your channel. So I have in the ethers, my history of comedy is out there. I was able to find some old clips, but yeah, so all of my social media is kind of starting from scratch. So it appears that I'm a new comedian, but I'm an old lady. I'm an old funny lady.
You're only 27.
Yes. Oh man. Did I answer your question?
God. Not yet. Can you just tell us about those people that are watching live stream or on audio? Can you just tell us about the writing aspect of comedy, and where do you get some of your inspiration from?
So the biggest discipline, if you're interested in comedy, that you can do for yourself is write down the moments. Like, do it in real time. Don't wait till you get home. Because you're not going to do it. You'll forget. I promise you. So the discipline that I got into is writing down whatever the funny thought was, whatever the funny moment was, whatever the funny experience was. Write it down, write it down, write it down. If I showed you my notebooks here, I mean, that's all I do. I just constantly am writing down what the funny moment was, the funny thought. And there is a bit of a formula to craft it so that you can get it stage ready. but I have been kind of doing it in a little bit of a more of a freestyle form, so that I am accurately capturing like what I would have said in this funny moment. So there's write down your funny moment, and remember the emotion and the energy behind it, because that's going to enable you to recreate it for the stage. But if nothing else, just write it down. And some of what you write down won't make sense to you when you go back and read it. It'll just be just bizarre. Just, but even that's funny. So, it's, if your mind is that filter, it's just always going to crank out and see funny stuff. So your job is actually, you're not actually creating the funny. You're taking notes on, whatever you believe in, God, as that sense of humor. And so I feel like I'm just a scribe for God's sense of humor. And I'm not a religious person. I just, whatever the universe is, it's the universe's sense of humor that I'm like, oh, boy, that's funny. Let me write that down. And then I'll bring it back to stage for people. So.
Do you have guinea pigs that you test your jokes on? And also too, I wanted to ask you this. For people that want to be comedians, do you feel they should learn the writing aspect of comedy first before they go up on live stage?
Well, second question first. I think everybody has to find their own orientation to comedy, because like the boxes. So I tried to stay out of like the corporate world because I can't fit into your box. But even when I got into the comedy world on the first part, there was a box and you had to fit into this box. And that was the death of me, the first part. That's why I had to leave. So now I'm playing by my own rules. I'm not listening to other people, and because I know who I am. So I think I'd say you have to learn to write before but if it is your real voice, there's something just naturally that happens when you get up in front of people and you start talking. What the discipline is how do you keep recreating that? So you are going to have to learn to write it out, jot it down, because you can't just do all live free form comedy, because that will get boring, because the craft is every 30 seconds you want to have a punchline. So if you're not 15, if you're exceptional, 15 seconds to 30 seconds. So if your storytelling isn't going to give that, you have to throw in, make sure you're throwing in jokes. So there's a lifetime that has to happen in order for you to craft a half hour of common ground material. Like, you may think you have 2 hours of material, but it might be 2 hours that just play in front of your buddies in a bar, not something that's going to play in a comedy club. So you're constantly writing, you're constantly trying to figure out what plays everywhere. I mean, if you're serious about a pursuit, you want to find what's going to play everywhere. So I'd say you're not really going to know what you're doing when you first step up there. So you have to figure out, are you stage ready, as in you're comfortable? Like, I have a friend who jotted down a few things, and he's very comfortable and he's very confident. I could teach him how to write stand-up, but the comfortability and the confidence to be in front of people, that's a little more challenging to teach someone. You have to feel that, you know what I mean? But then there's somebody who I worked with who was an exceptional writer, but their stage presence was what I had to draw out of them. So it really is such an individual sport. You have to know yourself. And if you have no ability to self-reflect, you're not going to do well in this. So it's more, first, you better be able to self-reflect. And that, from that perspective, all the material comes.
We have a couple of viewers on. One is Stacy Thomas. I am Stacy Thomas. She has her own podcast show. And another lady watching us, Flora, she wants to know, hey guys, what are you doing? I'm not sure if you know Flora.
No.
No, okay. Stacy and Flora, thank you for watching. Before we get to the video, Teri, how competitive is this comedy industry from when you first started to now?
I am the least competitive person on the planet. And comedy is cutthroat. It's always been, it will always be. The better you are, the more they'll come for you. It's not a nice industry. It's just not. You may meet nice people, but the industry as a whole is cutthroat. So yeah, it's super competitive. I don't give a shit. So I'm removed from the competition because I just want what being above average funny is entitled to. That's all. I don't want what you got. I don't want what you got. I just want what I'm entitled to.
Hey, Teri, I was going to say, if you still have a few more minutes, I was just going to play your video clip and then we'll wrap things up.
Sure.
If that's okay. All right.
Sure.
And then again, this clip is courtesy of A Talk with Teri G, her YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe and like notification. And Teri, just let me know if you can hear the audio okay, because
Sure.
I wear 7 different hats on this show. So just bear with me. Bear with me.
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. I really want to do this TikTok thing because I had this TikTok experience and I'm old and it was weird and I want to get to it, but I'm going to fill you guys out for a while and make sure because I don't know where everybody lands here. So, and I don't want to be offensive right out of the gate. I'll wait till the last 10 minutes. And then it doesn't matter because I'm leaving. 22 minutes. We still got time for more. All right. Because this is going so well. I'm going to just, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if this is going to land anywhere near a joke, but this is, okay, so here, this will either get me a lot of students or it will get me none. So, but this is where my material comes from, is real life. TikTok twice. First time I was on for half an hour, got very dizzy, got nauseous, and just deleted it. Because the scroll speed on that is nowhere near what a 50-year-old should be driving on social media. You know, like that is way too fast. I put it down for a long time. Then I had a couple friends like, you should really. I'm like, yeah. All right, I'll try it. And I was very well behaved. I was just putting up videos because that's what you do. So I was just trying to put up my comedy videos. Was in no way scrolling. I didn't even go over to the section that has for you or whatever the hell it is. I just posted stuff and then got off. And then periodically looked back to see if people viewed it. Not a lot of likes. Whatever. So then I started scrolling. Like maybe 3-4 days in, I scrolled. I'm like, oh, cats. Okay, cool. I like cats. Okay, kids, because I guess they assume if you like cats, you probably like kids. Confused more wrong. So I'm on, so it's cats and kids, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then, okay, I just need everyone to please suspend, this is a disclaimer, please suspend your political ideologies for the duration of this, what could be possibly a joke. It's not a political joke. It just involves something of the political content. Okay. And P.S. I don't give a shit where you land. Okay. P.S.S. I'll give you 2 guesses where I land. Okay. So I'm 3 days in, like 3-4 days in, and this really, literally just happened. Mary probably is like, did she block me already on TikTok? Because there's very few people that I reached out to because I didn't know how this was gonna go. You know, like, so I didn't connect my Facebook and all that. Like, I just thought, maybe a solo artist over here for a minute. So all of a sudden, Kamala happened. Okay, I'm a fan. I don't care where you land. I just need you to know I got caught up. So I'm very well behaved. Cats, kids. This is great. I can totally do TikTok. Then blue wave. I'm like, fuck yeah. Kamala 20. Fuck yeah. Oh my God. What? Oh my God. And then they're like, okay, white girls, like raising that. Oh my God. Yes. What are we doing? Yes. Well, here's what I didn't know about TikTok. When you hashtag like Kamala, inevitably there's like other people using hashtag Kamala. So those other videos will also come into your newsfeed. So I'm like, yeah. What the fuck? What? Excuse me? So at this point, I'm in the blue wave. Me and the girls aren't knitting hats this time. We're like, fuck yeah. Say it to my face came out, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, man, say it to my face on TikTok. You know, like, and no real pushback. You know what I mean? Like, my brother blocked me on Facebook because of my political commentary. But no pushback whatsoever. I'm like, I fucking love TikTok. Say it to my face. Oh, you triggered? Oh, just a fucking asshole. A total fucking asshole. I will own it, 100%. That wasn't even me being 50. That was me being fucking done. So, hey, sorry, wherever you land. Sorry. You can follow me out and try and beat me up. So, because I also watch Bravo, and they had a self-defense coach that came to somebody's house. Okay? So I just want you to know, I'm ready. I'm ready for you. I'm going to need you to come at me this way, but I'm ready. So say it to my face came out. I'm on fire. So something I didn't know that like the TikTok kids do is they will post, and now I saw it happen to people, they'll take comments and they'll put it up in their screen and then they don't say anything, but they have like a texted, like, I don't know, opinion on there and they just like act out whatever it was that they stupidly typed up there, like, I just was like, ooh, that sucks, and that person's got ooh, feel that sucks. Well, I got a little lippy with somebody's page who is very proficient at the TikTok. Very young, very opposite my views. And I was very much an asshole. Oh, you're triggered. Blue heart. Yeah, hashtag Kamala. Oh, just obnoxious. Well, 3 times my comments landed on this little girl's like, holy shit. Now, I am in my 50s, so I feel good about myself. I'm good. I don't need you to tell me I'm good. If you met me in my 20s, you could have influenced me. Now, so I think to myself, oh my God, this is like a horrible rabbit hole of like, and all of this venom came at me and like all at once. And then I unknowingly, at one point in the 10 days total, had changed the name on there to have Teri G Comedy on there. Well, That didn't go as planned. In any way did I get the type of exposure I entered the TikTok field for. I kind of engaged with this girl back and forth, and then some of her friends joined in, and I'm like, oh, well, I got you. I felt very, like, I don't know, Bruce Lee, like, and I was like, bam, yeah, ja, wah, yeah, wah, ja. And then it was too many. And then I'm like, I'm getting my ass kicked. Now I'm laughing because I'm like, oh man, this is going down hard on the TikTok, going down hard. So by day 10, I just deleted my account, and you can find me on Facebook. Where my speed is.
And that clip was courtesy of your YouTube channel, A Talk with Teri G. Please hit the subscribe and like notification. Teri, quick thoughts on this performance at the Scranton Improv and Comedy Club.
That was a story. So that was the second time since being back that I was trying to bring like the story sort of teller out, as opposed to like just strict, joke. So my success in that was just that I was able to bring the story of my experience on TikTok to stage. And but if I don't know that I would like extract anything there as a joke. Outside of like if you went to that show, you will have heard that story, but I don't know that story is something that I will take like onto the stage elsewhere, but I like that. And that's the new formula that's starting to work itself out in my comedy, where it's not just strictly like joke. It's a little more storytelling. So anyway, that's fun for me. But comedians will watch that 8 minutes and be like, oh my God, she just didn't have 30 seconds. But I'm telling a story. And for me, that was my goal.
On average, how long is one of your show's performances?
Well, like one of my sets or like the show?
I guess one of your, like when you do a show, how long are you on normally for? 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes?
Oh, sorry. That was a rude response. I don't get out of bed for 5 or 10 minutes. I just, you know what I mean? Like, so at least a half hour or 45 minutes. If you pay me enough, I'll host, but you got to pay me what you'd pay me to feature or headline. So that usually works out.
And finally, I do this with all my guests when we're wrapping up the show. What are some fun facts about yourself that your fans and audience might not know about yourself?
I'm an exceptional dancer. I was a break dancer back in the day.
Back in the 80s.
Yes. I won moonwalking contests. Yeah, I don't want to brag. I could still bust a move today. I am a ridiculously picky eater. I don't eat things that to smell like butt or feet. Yeah, I'm a whole mess of weirdo. The more you talk to me, the more it just comes out. You don't look at me and you're like, she's a weirdo. But a couple minutes with me, and you're like, okay. And what are we, an hour and so later? I
apologize for keeping you over 45.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. My favorite subject.
I'll put you on the spot here. I was born in the 70s, but I wanted to ask you, MJ or Taylor Swift, who's bigger?
MJ, like Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson, yeah.
Or Taylor Swift? I'm gonna have to go with Taylor because tell her as like can move people. She's like a force. Michael Jackson was just popular.
Plus, he didn't have the social media back then that
That's
they
what I
have
mean.
now.
If he did, maybe he would have been a force. She's a force. Plus, if you ever read her lyrics, not necessarily listened to them, she's a brilliant woman. She's a brilliant woman.
Businesswoman too. Business person.
Oh, she's badass. She's just, yeah. Sorry, Mike.
And she even had, when she was in Toronto for 6 shows, she had escorts. They shut down the city for her to escort her to the Rogers Center where she performed as well.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, moonwalk and all. I don't know.
So. And finally, where can our audience follow you on social media and your website? And if you'd like to plug some of your upcoming live performances coming up.
All right. So I'm hoping that TikTok doesn't get
I heard
canceled over here because I'm having a lot of fun on TikTok. I find like Facebook is so boring now that I've experienced TikTok. It's so boring. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Teri G Comedy on Facebook. And then Instagram, because I had to resurrect an Instagram account. It's a talk with Teri G. That's another long story. Won't get into that. And if TikTok is still around, Teri G Comedy on TikTok. My website is just terigranahan.com, but you could you could put Teri G Comedy in and Google will ask you if you mean tragic comedy. And then you could say, F you, Google. No, I mean Teri. And it's Teri.
And you know what? TikTok is where we met on TikTok. I've had a number of guests I've met through TikTok that have come on my show. So fingers crossed that TikTok is allowed to continue in the States. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, please. Come on. Don't ruin everything.
And with Christmas coming up, what's your favorite thing about Christmas before we wrap this up?
The day after.
Which is Boxing Day here in Canada.
Oh, there you go.
Boxing Day is kind of like our Black Friday.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I hate the holidays. I should tell you, I do. I hate them. Oh, they're a nightmare. Maybe if I was rich, they'd be wonderful.
Absolutely, and I'm lucky. I don't have to go to the malls now. I'm all done. So I'm.
Oh, that's
because to me, it's not the buying stuff that's stressful. It's the parking. You could write it. You could write a comedy show about the parking, and you see some parking rage too as well.
That's funny.
So Teri, I want to say thank you so much for giving us well over an hour of your time today. I apologize for keeping you longer. I really enjoyed speaking with you and wishing you continued success in your comedy career. And give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video, the audio, and I'll tag you in some reels and clips as well for this show as well, if you'd like to promote on your social media pages as well.
And I'm sorry if I didn't click all the bells and whistles and everything that you're supposed to do when you send me stuff, because I don't totally know, and I do try. So I don't know what goes where, but I try. So
no, you were awesome, and with my show, it's always about the guests. I'm just the host. You're it's like with ventriloquist. You're the ventriloquist, and I'm the puppet.
Okay.
I try to be funny. But hey, Teri, thank you so much for doing this. And we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media and TikTok as well.
Please do. You have a wonderful Saturday.
You too. Thank you so much, Teri.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that concludes Season 9, Episode 25, overall 465 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph. I want to say thank you to my guest today, Teri Granahan, a stand-up comedian out of Pennsylvania. And I want to say thank you to Stacy, Robbie, And my other comment was from Flora for watching this show. And thank you to everyone watching this on live stream and on audio platforms as well. The next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again sponsored by BarryCullen.com and WellingtonBrewery.ca, will be on Thursday, December 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern with special guest Eli Ong, a reporter, content creator with WGN News in Chicago. And Eli's going to come on and we're going to talk about the 2024 Chicago Bears and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. So if you're a fan of the National Football League, Chicago Bears, check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show this Thursday, December 12th at 4 p.m. with Eli Ong from WGN News in Chicago. Speaking of announcements, on Monday, December 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern, I have a special guest. His name is Tom Calhoun. He is a longtime public address announcer of the St. Louis Blues of the National Hockey League since 1987, and he's now the host of his new podcast show called the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast with Tom Calhoun. And Tom's going to come on and we're going to talk about his new show called the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast, and we're going to talk to Tom about the 24-25 St. Louis Blues and maybe ask Tom about Toronto Maple Leafs head coach Craig Brewery's time in St. Louis and how special that Stanley Cup win was for the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri in 2019. And on Friday, this next Friday coming up, Friday, December 13th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, I have a special guest, Steve Bermel. He is the radio analyst for the Buffalo Bisons on 1520 The Bet in Buffalo, alongside play-by-play man John Gerkler. And Steve's going to come on, and we're going to talk about the 24-25 Bandits and if this team can repeat as three-time National Lacrosse League champions as well. And speaking of the Buffalo Bandits, they open up their 24-25 season tonight on the road in Rochester against the Nighthawks, 7 o'clock on 1520 The Bet with John Gerkler and Steve Bermel. And also this game will be on TSN Plus and ESPN Plus as well. So Buffalo Bandits are back, and their home opener for the Bandits will be Saturday, November 28th at 6:30 at the KeyBank Center, and I will be there as freelance media as well. Speaking of Buffalo, I will be in Buffalo, New York as a fan on Monday, December 9th, 7 o'clock, when the Detroit Red Wings, led by Dylan Larkin and Patrick Kane, will take on Tage Thompson and those Buffalo Sabres, and look for some Buffalo Sabres Detroit Red Wings game content creation, some pictures, some videos, and maybe I'll do some interviews with some Sabre fans and players as well. So looking forward to the Sabres Red Wings Monday night at the KeyBank Center and Buffalo. And it's also Bandit night at the KeyBank Center. I think the first 7,500 fans get a Buffalo Bandits t-shirt as well, courtesy of the Buffalo Sabres. All right, guys, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0. And check out their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. You can also check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Pomey. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out BarryCullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or call the dealership at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@BarryCullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, your go-to service center this winter. No charge battery test. That's right, a no charge battery test with winter coming here in Southern Ontario. Colder temperatures can weaken your battery, so go to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for a no-charge battery test, and they'll throw in a $20 instant rebate on a new AC Delco 12-volt battery. So make sure you get your battery tested at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and they'll even throw in a $20 instant rebate. More details at barrycullen.com. Live with CDP t-shirts coming soon. They'll be priced at $20, and then they'll be in sizes large, extra large, and double extra large, and 3 extra large as well. TikTok. You can follow this TikTok creator on TikTok at Live with CDP. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like notification. Finally, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And before we wrap up the show, guys, Wellington Brewery, founded in 1985, located at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, Ontario. WellingtonBrewery.ca. You can call them at 519-837-2337. Try a Welly on, and please drink responsibly. Check out their Christmas Lager Mix Pack. It is your go-to gift or party flavor for a truly refreshing holiday. Packed with premium lagers, this mix includes our year-round classics, the Smooth Golden Helles Lager and Easy Drinking Boot Light Lager, plus a special seasonal treat, Crispy Forever. These crisp, clean brews are each uniquely crafted for a balance of flavor, lower alcohol, and ultimate refreshments, making this mix approachable for any crowd. This festive 6-pack box is as handsome as it is convenient, just like yours truly. Perfect for sharing at parties or gifting to the beer lovers in your life. So check out Wellington Brewery again at 950 Woodlawn Road West here in Guelph, and their website is wellingtonbrewery.ca. And again, try a Welly on, and please drink responsibly. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you to my guest again, Teri Granahan, a stand-up comedian out of the great state of Pennsylvania, for coming on here today. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And we got NFL on Sunday. Eagles, Carolina at 1 o'clock at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles need to win to keep pace with the Detroit Lions. And then the Buffalo Bills take on the Los Angeles Rams at 4:25 p.m. Thank you to everyone watching the show today, live stream and on audio. And to thank you to my sponsors, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph, and Wellington Brewery here in Guelph, for sponsoring Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, which will return for Season 9, Episode 26, Thursday, December 12th at 4 p.m. again with Eli Ong from WGN News in Chicago. And Eli and I are going to talk about the 2024 Chicago Bears and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. I hope everybody has a great day, everybody. Has a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show next Thursday. And I'm hoping to get the Small Talk podcast up and running again as well for a new episode. So stay tuned to my social media pages for update on the Small Talk podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you back here next Thursday at 4 p.m. with Eli Ong from WGN News.